Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on the February 25th, Saturday 2017 at, well, just about 1700 in the afternoon Eastern Time. This is not particularly a light-hearted story. You can see the title, Penile Implant Story in a Poor Suffering Soul. Now this took place in probably October of 1975 when I was on the urology service at Ohio State University Hospitals when I was a first-year surgery resident. Now, we had a patient sent over to us from the psychiatric hospital unit of Upham Hall. I think, I was Upham Hall. Yeah, the psych guys were in Upham, and the lung and heart guys were in Means. Anyway, this man was sent over, and now this man had this man had several horrible problems. That's probably why I was at Ohio State. This guy had been in Vietnam. This is 1975. He was a fairly young guy. He was in his late 20s, I'd say, well, as I remember, he was in his late 20s or very early 30s. This is, anyway, he had both legs blown off. Claymore Mine, Bouncing Betty. Now, he didn't lose his balls and he didn't lose his dick, but they weren't, well, the dick wasn't working anymore, and part of that was because he also, the blast broke his spine around T12. Somewhere in, T10, T12, somewhere in there, and he couldn't get an erection. He also had some major psychological problems because of his, wartime injuries and wartime experiences. He was still fighting on a distant battlefield, though he appeared to be home. Let's put it that way. And he wanted a penile implant. Now, these were the sort of the early days of penile implants, and at that time you had basically they were just two silastic rods, which are sort of flexible, silicone-y like. They're firmer than silicone, but they're not like rigid things. I mean, they're rigid, but not, it's not like you're holding onto a piece of metal. And you slide these up in the two corpora cavernosa and the venous, and essentially the guy just walks around with like a permanent, 35, 45 degree erection. I mean, these were very early days in this kind of thing. Shortly after that, they introduced the inflatable balloons where you could pump your dick up, with the water reservoir in your scrotum or in your perineum. That's not what this guy was going to get. And the reason he wanted this was that he had fallen in love with one of his psychiatric nurses over in Upham Hall. And they wanted to get married. I don't know, they might have already gotten married, I don't know, but I can't remember. But that was the genesis, of this, And of course I met this wife-to-be or wife, and she was a real piece of work. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, so down to the operating room he goes, and as my attending said at the time, oh, I forgot to mention, he had already had a previous one of these things done, and it had gotten infected and they had to take it out. So my attending said to me, Kersey, there's no way you can fuck this up anymore. You get to do the case. And he talked me through the case, and it wasn't technically all that hard. Of course, the fun part's when you cram those rods up into the corpora, Now, it turned out, because of all of his previous scarring and his blast injury from Vietnam, instead of the rods going up in parallel, like the normal corpora do, his crossed, made an X, which tended to cause his dick to rotate. Now, I can't remember whether it had a right hand twist or a left hand twist, but that's what he ended up with. So this poor guy, he healed well, he did well, he didn't get reinfected, and back he went to Upham Hall. I guess so he could be near his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was. And this guy had major psychological problems, as I said. And most of them were probably related to his war service, but he might have also had some underlying sort of quasi-schizophrenic stuff going on. Hard to say. In any case, one night, I have no idea how they did that, because Upham Hall is a very secure facility. You went through like 2 or 3 locked doors to get onto the wards. We had to do that for a month as a medical student. That was scary as all get out, for some of these guys. On the other hand, most, the bulk of the patients were depressed housewives going through divorces. But this guy wasn't doing that. Anyway, so he somehow gets out of Upham Hall. Now he's on what he did was, his arms worked. He was very strong from like about here up. And he had this little cart. It looked like one of those the wagons the kids pull around, the red wagons. I want to keep saying Red Rider wagons, but that's not what they are. Radio flyer wagons, And he had a larger version of one of these things, only they had the wheels where his shoulders were like wheelchair wheels. And he didn't like to be in a wheelchair where they sort of had to, put his stump torso-y thing in, that way. So he's lying on this little cart. It looks almost like a fruit seller's cart when you see in cities, that are got on wheels. He goes down. He gets in the elevator. He goes down to the ground floor in Upham Hall. He gets out the front door, and the parking garage. One of the major parking garages for the University Hospital was right across the way. We're talking like 15 yards away. So he goes over to the parking garage, he gets in the elevator, he goes up to the top deck. Now this is a 6-story high parking garage. And he wheels himself off the deck. Boom. Well, there went the end of my beautiful work. I couldn't help it. I just had to say that. So let us not forget that people who have been in the service of our country are carrying around long after they've. I mean, this man had lost 2 legs. Long afterwards, they're still fighting on distant battlefields, even though they're still home, or they appear to be home. Alrighty, bye-bye, YouTubers.